Today we're making this super easy quick cheese bread. Quick because it uses no yeast and there's no kneading or proofing involved. In fact, it's ready in less than 1 hour. And not only does it taste great as is, but it makes the best sandwiches, especially grilled cheese. If you love the idea of freshly baked bread but hate the idea of spending hours in the kitchen, then you're gonna love this one. So to make this amazing super quick cheese bread, we're going to start with 3 cups of all-purpose flour. If you wanted to do a whole wheat cheese bread, I would do 2 cups of all-purpose and 1 cup of whole wheat flour. Next, I'm going to add 4 teaspoons of baking powder. Make sure it's not baking soda. I've had people give me heck in the comments because they used baking soda instead of baking powder, and then whatever they made didn't turn out. So make sure your ingredients are right. I have here half a teaspoon of salt. And this ingredient's optional, but I think it adds a lot. 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. And 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. All right, we're just gonna mix that all together. By the way, you're gonna wanna have your oven preheating to 375 degrees Fahrenheit right now. That's about 190 Celsius. All right, once all those dry ingredients are thoroughly mixed, I'm gonna make a little well in the center. And I'm gonna add 1 1/2 cups of milk. I like to use whole milk in my baking, but you can use partly skimmed. And I'm just gonna give this a really brief mix, just to get it started. And then I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Get all of that in there. That's gonna add a lot of flavor and good texture to the bread. It's gonna be a very stiff batter. It's almost gonna be more like a dough, but that's how it should be. And whatever you do, you don't wanna overmix this. As soon as you see it's nice and incorporated, you can stop mixing. And we're gonna spread it into our prepared pan. All I did for that was I greased the 2 ends of the pan with a little bit of butter. Then I took this piece of parchment paper and folded it so it would fit inside the pan. And you wanna leave enough room for some overhang so you can really easily pull the loaf out when it's done. So that's all you do to prepare the pan. So there we have it. We're just gonna get this right into our nice pan. Get right to the edges and all those corners. This is looking perfect. And this is exactly what the consistency of the batter should look like. It should be very stiff. Anything thinner than this and you might end up with something that resembles more of a cake, which you don't want for this. So there we go. Now we're gonna bake this in our preheated oven for about 40 to 45 minutes. And here's how it's gonna look when it comes out. Now this was in the oven for 45 minutes. You can see that it's this nice light golden brown on top. That's how it should look. I'm gonna let it cool in the pan for about 10 minutes before I take it out. But in the meantime, I have this little piece of butter here and I'm just gonna rub it all over while it's hot from the oven. Just rub that butter all over the top. Totally an optional step, but it does add a beautiful sheen. Just like in my traditional white sandwich bread recipe, I like to brush butter all over the top because it adds this beautiful sheen and even a little extra flavor too. Now look at how amazing that looks. Okay, so after about 10 minutes, we're gonna just use the 2 pieces of overhang parchment to just pull it right out of the pan. A really good way to know if this is completely cooked in the middle is if the bottom is this nice golden brown. If it looks really pale down here, then chances are your loaf is still raw in the middle. You'll have to put it back in the oven. Just like most other breads, this is gonna continue to cook as it cools and develop more. By cutting into it right away, you're gonna lose a lot of the moisture as it steams. So just let it cool completely if you can. That doesn't mean you can't serve it warm, but you'll want to enjoy it all at once. All right, so here we are. It's a few hours later and this loaf has cooled completely. So I'm going to cut into it so you can see what it looks like. I can tell that this looks really good.
Okay, so there we are. That's what the crumb looks like. It's kind of a close crumb. We're just gonna slice off another piece here. It smells absolutely amazing. It cuts absolutely perfectly. It's nice and moist, but not cakey moist. You can see that, you know, it bends really easily, so it is pretty soft, but it has a texture that's very similar to yeast bread. I mean, it is slightly different. It's not exactly like a bread made with yeast, but it's a pretty close substitute. I really like the end piece myself. Very nice. Oh my goodness, really, really good. That is so, so good.
Now, even though this is a quick bread, you can still use it and serve it the same way you would a traditional yeast bread. And you can successfully make sandwiches out of it, especially grilled cheese. In fact, it takes grilled cheese to a whole new level. The bread itself is perfectly seasoned, and that little bit of added Parmesan really improves the flavor. So, even though it is optional, I highly recommend you use the Parmesan. Don't forget you can get the complete printable recipe by clicking the link in the description below. Now go bake yourself up a loaf of this quick cheese bread because it's probably going to make your day.